Now, I heard that, and I'm so glad you mentioned racism in LA. I heard it's prevalent there, but it's described as disguised.
It's disguised, yeah.
Yeah.
It,
So in light of a few incidents that came from there, of course, back in the 90s, we had Rodney King and the trial
hmm.
there, and then O.J. Simpson and his trial there. Uh, what are your thoughts about that aspect of LA culture?
What I hate the most about people's view of LA is that, like, oh, you're so lucky you don't have to deal with the racism and stuff like that in Cali. Like the amount of people who have said this, it makes me laugh every time. And I'm like, do you not understand the history of the LAPD? The
Hmm.
LAPD was created by transporting KKK members from the South to California for the purpose of policing the influx of Black and brown communities that had started springing up.
Hmm.
Um, California has an extremely, or LA in particular, has an
Hmm.
extremely racist history, down to the Chinese massacre that a lot of people don't
Right.
know much about, to like the ways in which they segregated Black and brown communities as well, how they move people around and things like that. And then of course we have literal KKK members are the founding members of the establishment of LAPD. So racism has never not been on the agenda for them, and continues on into the time that I was growing up. There was when Darrell Gates was the chief of police during Rodney King and all that other kind of stuff. So I got to experience, and the Vikings. The Vikings were an police force gang. They all had tattoos of the Viking logo from the Minnesota Vikings. Then they were tasked to basically just go in there and harass Black and brown communities, and in some cases, kill folks and beat up folks. That extended into Long Beach, where I was growing up at the time, and so the disguising of it is, it's Hollywood, it's liberal, even our rich people are
Hmm.
cool. But no, all the same things that are happening in other places are happening in LA. It's just that you're distracted by the glitz and glamour of different aspects of that city. But you can drive into any of the predominantly Black and brown communities of LA, and you can see the same level of degradation and oppression that happens anywhere else in the country. So I really don't like that people don't realize when they're outside of LA, how terrible LA can be.
Hmm.
That being said, it's like one of those things, you're familiar with what you grow up with. So that's my terrible. When
Right.
I come to a different place and I live in a different place and I learn that local place is terrible, um, I still don't feel like I fit because it's a
Mhm.
different type of experiences that I have.
Wow.
So yeah, LA has a terrible racist history, even down to how we got water,
Hmm.
and like who they had to move around to get the water and stuff like that. Like there's no aspect, in the same way that there's no aspect of the United States history, of infrastructure or anything like that that doesn't rely on the bodies of Black and brown people. LA is no different.
Yeah.
No different.
Wow. Yeah, and yeah, not to mention they held Japanese concentration camps there too. So,
Yeah, absolutely. The largest Japanese population in the country at the time was there, and still, I think, I kind of is. I believe
mhm,
has kind of come back a bit.
yeah,
But everybody was moved from there. Whole communities, their stuff was taken away from them, um, and they were sent to concentration camps. And then when they returned, they didn't have their existence. Their
yeah,
homes, their property was gone too. So yeah, LA has a terrible history.
yeah.
But they like to mask it in this like newfound unity that we have. We're such a diverse place. Blah 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 blah. But it's it's no different. It's no different than any other.